Dante Manning has committed to Oklahoma's 2020 class, and we're going to talk about it after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time, and today we're going to talk about 2020 commit Dante Manning. You'll remember that last week I had an interview with Dante Manning where he recapped an unofficial visit to Oklahoma and said that he was going to take an official visit to Oklahoma, and it is clear that one of the sets of eyeballs that was tweeted by Lincoln Riley over the course of this spring game weekend was 2020 cornerback Dante Manning at 6'1", 175 pounds. He is the kind of tall, lanky, long DB that Alex Grinch and Roy Manning crave. Now, this is a big deal for a number of reasons. Since Alex Grinch got to Oklahoma, he was down -2 recruits. Both of them were DBs, and more to the point, both of them were cornerbacks. One, Darian Green-Warren, who I'm still very high on, and perhaps Oklahoma could still win back. We'll have to wait and see. And the other is Jalen Huff. And I don't think that Jalen Huff's going to get back in the boat, but it was clear that Alex Grinch wants to build his defensive class in his own image, the way that he wants to do it. And one of the things that has been referred to over and over again is that he wants to be longer and bigger at defensive back to combat longer and bigger wide receivers. Now, I've always said that the reason that wide receivers are traditionally bigger than cornerbacks is because you usually give them an option and they'll tell you that they want to play wide receiver because wide receiver is where the touchdowns are scored, where the glory is. There is no glory in playing cornerback in the way that there is playing wide receiver, and the contracts at the NFL level reflect that. You're going to overpay for a guy like Julio Jones rather than overpay for a guy like Jalen Ramsey or any other cornerback that you think is an all-pro. I'm using those two guys as examples here to make my point. So getting a guy like Dante Manning in the boat is a very big deal for another reason, in that this is not the best class for defensive backs. Matter of fact, I would say that last year's class was a little bit better than most for defensive backs. And in a weak defensive back class, being able to get a guy like Dante Manning who fits the measurables for what you want and also has the speed for what you want is a big deal. Had offers from places like Iowa State, but also had offers from places like Notre Dame. Now, there is a long time between now, April, and early signing day in December. But Dante Manning seems like the kind of guy who will stick because he's had multiple visits to Oklahoma, and because he is in on what Roy Manning and Alex Grinch are building on that defense. And I think that message, along with Lincoln Riley rolling out the red carpet for 20-plus recruits, is getting through. A number of things happened over the course of this weekend. One of them was, of course, the spring game. Another was the bowling alley event. Another was Chesapeake Arena was put on display for these guys to let them know they are wanted at Oklahoma. And this is going to be the biggest recruiting weekend perhaps all year for Oklahoma. And it's going a long way toward building out the rest of your 2020 class. There are still 3 sets of unaccounted for eyeballs. Yes, I have a good idea for who those people are. No, I'm not going to tell you who those people are because we don't break commitments here. That's not what we do. Kids break their own news. But I do believe you're going to be very happy about it, including the big one that Lincoln Riley alluded to. I think everybody's going to be very happy about that. But again, the news here, Dante Manning, the defensive commit in the 2020 class when there were none. And that's another big deal because as far as I'm concerned, Alex Grinch is still down -1 recruits, and he's got to get 2 or 1 more to get back to 0, 2 more to get plus and to start building out in a very real way. Now, we're also going to be looking at whether or not he goes into the grad transfer market for a defensive tackle or defensive end type of guy. But he might not, because I think that he's going to get a lot out of guys like Marcus Stripling, who's coming into this class, and Marcus Hicks, who's coming into this class. And I mean by this class, I mean 2019 over the summer. Those are 2 defensive ends that I believe have an opportunity to play right away for Oklahoma, and not just play right away, but be very, very good in this quote-unquote speed D that is built around effort. Now, what we saw out of the spring game does not necessarily lend us toward the idea that Alex Grinch's defense is just amazing and that all these guys needed was a new scheme. I think you're going to take time to put that scheme in. But I was encouraged to hear him say We took all of 4 days to put our scheme in. Like, the defense is in. Now it's about finding out how these guys move and breathe within his system, and I'm sure it's going to get tailored and tweaked. You also have other recruits coming in who weren't playing the spring game. Notably, Woody Washington out of Tennessee, Jeremiah Cradell out of Mater Dei, Jaden Davis out of St. Thomas Aquinas in Miami. All three of those guys could compete for starting jobs, and you saw Jamal Morris was one of your closest things to a standout on defense. I don't think that anybody actually stood out. I think Neville Gallimore made a couple plays, and Brian Meade showed everybody exactly why his name is being spoken about a lot over the course of spring practice. But you're far from finished, and the bottom is 129 out of 129 in pass defense, and if they're better than that, they're going to improve. Are they going to be good enough to get inside the top 50? That's going to be the question. I don't think we're actually going to know the answer to that until OU Texas, really, but you're going to get a good test against Daniel Hogerson and the man De'Eric down there at Houston to open the season. Really encouraged by what I've heard, though, so far from recruits about how the weekend's gone. Just Doomerville had a great time if you've been following that. We also have a few other guys in the 2021 class who might be leaning toward making a decision. We'll wait and see. There's some crystal balls in on that. But the news again, Dante Manning is the defensive recruit in the class. Hopefully, Grinch continues to build on that. And what's clear is if Grinch can target the guy that he wants, Lincoln Riley feels good about being able to close on those guys. If for no other reason, then he closed on a bunch of defensive recruits without a defensive coordinator, which goes to show the recruiting apparatus at Oklahoma is one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country. I really do believe, pound for pound, it's the best recruiting apparatus in the country. It's just not landing the kind of guys that Alabama and Georgia land, I think precisely because it hasn't played in a national championship in the last 2 years. That's it. Same thing with Clemson. The rich are going to get richer, and until you can win a college football playoff game, probably not going to break into the top 2 or 3 of recruiting. OU felt like it was going to finish there, and then a late surge from Texas getting Brew McCoy and others kind of bumped them out. And we saw LSU come on strong, Clemson come on strong, those sorts of things. But it's clear that they can land these kinds of recruits. So they're going to try to land these kinds of recruits. So with the hard reset on defensive recruiting, Alex Grinch needs to be able to evaluate. If he can evaluate, it's clear that Lincoln Riley and his staff believe they can close. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.